hello, and welcome to Empire Sports, your home for all your favorite New York State sports teams. I'm Matt Moran, and having on tonight on the show tonight we have Anthony Dulce and Scott Wodorowski. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
No problem, Matt.
And now let's get to it. Our first headline. First up, in the midst of a season that seems like that has nothing been going right for the Knicks, there are now sources that former NBA coach Phil Jackson, who has won 11 NBA titles over his glorious career, is coming out of retirement to join the Knicks front office. Guys, do you think this is actually true? And how much of an impact would the Zen Master make?
I don't know if this move really makes sense for any party involved. I don't know why the Knicks would want to bring in Phil Jackson, and I'm not really sure why Phil Jackson would want to go to the Knicks. More of the latter. Why would Phil Jackson, a prestigious head coach, 11 NBA championships, want to go to a team like the Knicks? It just doesn't really make any sense to me. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I was hearing, that it seems like he wants to take this job so as a predecessor to take another job, say maybe back with the Lakers in the future, build him up to this to get him a little bit of experience. And I wouldn't say that he necessarily has a New York state of mind, because the New York state of mind has seemingly been bringing in a lot of stars with individualistic premises that aren't exactly team players. And I think he's going to actually help this team, though, because he's going to be able to bring in players that know how to play together, which is why he was able to win 11 championships as a head coach.
And something that the Knicks have really been struggling with, at least when it comes to team play. And, overall, impact-wise, if this signing does happen, even just now, could we be seeing the Knicks, maybe spark up some, very good play down the stretch?
I don't know how much Phil Jackson can impact this. I don't know. He's not really coaching. There's rumors out there that if he does take over, he's going to hire Steve Kerr as head coach, and I don't really know if that really makes any sense. Mm-hmm. It's just, Steve Kerr, I think, played for him in Chicago on those championship teams, but none of this really makes any sense to me.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that seems like it's going to either be a really big risk, really big reward kind of deal, or it's going to flop, and then it's going to just embarrass the New York Knicks that much more than it would.
Is that possible?
You wouldn't think so, but it seems like they're trying really hard to make that happen.
Apparently.
For a team that desperate, it's not really that shocking. And really, Phil Jackson, like you said, that's a very good point, Scott, saying that maybe he's just coming to the Knicks to use as a project to be able to work back into his career. But, it definitely seemed like, Anthony, that this guy really wanted to go out. He was an amazing coach for the Lakers, amazing coach for the Bulls, and now all of a sudden you see him maybe coming to the Knicks. It's very interesting. And, overall, do you think it's the right move for himself as just, his image?
I don't think so. Again, I don't know why he would want to take this over. He's had a past of winning 11 titles. 11. It just doesn't make any sense as to why a guy like Phil Jackson would want this. Like, why would he want to go to an embarrassment of a basketball team this year and potentially jeopardize his image like that? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. His self-image, I think, is going to get hurt unless this ends up paying off, which I think is going to be a very big long shot. I know you think so too, but with a storied career like he's had, I don't think it's necessary that he even really needs to come back into basketball at all. I think he got out at the right time.
I completely agree with that.
Well, we'll see if the signing does occur and how much of an impact it does make on the Knicks. Now over to our next headline. The past few days, the Jets have released Pro Bowl cornerback Antonio Cromartie and Super Bowl 43 MVP wide receiver Santonio Holmes. Anthony and Scott, do you think this strategy of releasing these guys to clear up cap space is a good one?
I'm not sure. I mean, they have a young quarterback in Geno Smith, and you'd think you would want as much experience there as possible. I understand trying to free up cap room, but Santonio Holmes especially, I know he wasn't really on the field last season at all, but at the same time, he's like their only veteran receiver in that core. I don't know why they would want to get rid of him. Cromartie makes a little bit more sense. He didn't play very good last year. They can probably find a replacement for him. There's a lot of good defensive backs on the free agent market, so maybe they can replace him. But the Holmes thing, I think they should have kept him around maybe another year.
And Scott?
See, I disagree with that because he's had a lot of character issues with that team. I looked at an astounding number. He's made approximately $250,000 per catch in his 3
Really?
seasons with the Jets because that's how little production he has had on the field. So I think this is a huge move to get rid of him. And then Cromartie came out and said he was a little bit surprised that he got cut. He was even willing to negotiate a trade where he takes a nice pay cut to stay on that team, but it seems like they decided that he's got a little bit of hip issues. I think he's starting to slow down, being around that 30 age barrier where a lot of people start to slow down in the career. So I think this is a good move, clearing up over $17 million in cap space.
That's very true. And Holmes, I believe, over his career with the Jets, he only had 4 100 receiving yard games. So, that is, definitely a stat that when you're paying so much money and able to clear up the space, maybe go out and a big free agent stud, we'll see if the Jets do that. I mean, I know that Michael Vick might be an option. We'll see where it goes there. Now, also, breaking news today, Jarius Byrd signing with the Saints. How do you think? We know the Bills they did decide to not franchise tag them, so it's on their fault. But
Right.
There was still the option that he could have signed with the Bills. How does that impact the Bills that no longer they will be having Jarius Byrd on the team?
They made great strides in their defense last year. Jarius Byrd, he was injured for a lot of it, but the time he did play, you could tell that he was just a huge difference maker. I said it like last week about Miller. I'm just sad to see him leave. I'm sad to see a player like Jarius Byrd leave. I bought a Jarius Byrd Bills jersey after his rookie season. I thought he was going to be there for a while, but the Saints are a good fit for him. He'll be on a contending team where they need help on defense, and he can certainly provide that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is sad to see him go, being from Buffalo and watching him over the last few years. But I don't think Buffalo could afford to pay the price that Byrd got from New Orleans if they want to keep developing and moving forward. They've even though their record hasn't necessarily always shown it, they have been starting to make progress the last few years with developing that defense and making steps in the right direction. I think paying them that huge contract would set them back because that limits them from growing in other areas that they need to grow in.
It's very true. Now, finally over to our last headline, moving the discussion to Syracuse basketball. Now, even though they started the season at 25-0 and then losing their last 4 of 6 in the regular season, they still head to the ACC tournament as the number 2 seed in the conference and 11th in the AP poll. Guys, with March Madness upon us, is the national championship hopes still alive for the Orange?
You can't doubt that they're still a good team. They're a good team. They still have good players. They have a CJ Fair. They have a Trevor Cooney. They have a bunch of different good players that they can maybe rely on. And of course, they have a great coach in Jim Boeheim. So I don't count them out yet. I think they can definitely compete. I think that they can definitely maybe not win the tournament, but they can compete in it. I think.
I agree. I think they compete. I don't think they're going to win. The loss of Jeremy Grant to injury showed the lack of depth that this team has outside of their top 4 guys, as they went an entire month without scoring more than 70 points in a game. Yes, he did come back, and in his first game back, they took the win by 16-plus points, but which actually was the same margin as the amount of points he had in that game. But the way Syracuse shown, they've opened it up to allow other teams to be able to find out this is what we need to do to break them down, break down their offense, because we know Syracuse is going to come out and play great defense game in and game out, and it shows they like to play close games, but their offense is not going to be there to win a national championship.
But not just the national championship. Just give me your overall impact of NCAA tournament. ACC tournament going forward. They are the number 2 seed, so overall, just a quick prediction how they're going to be playing this ACC tournament this weekend.
I think the Duke will probably win the tournament.
Well, that's the thing. They are the number 3 seed, while Syracuse is number 2. So I know they would, of course, have to play each other.
Yeah.
But going forward, could we be seeing the Syracuse still have a big impact in the NCAA tournament, in the ACC tournament?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They still have the talent to do that.
Okay.
I don't think they will, but they most certainly can.
Okay.
I agree with that. I think they're going to end up in the semifinal or the final. I don't think they win it. With the emergence of North Carolina knows how to beat high-ranked teams like Duke, for example. I think you're going to see Duke, North Carolina, or everyone still doesn't count out the season Virginia has had in the ACC.
That's very true. They're the number 1 seed. Well, thank you, Scott and Anthony. We are going to be heading to a break, and we will see how the college hoops and see how the Cinderellas push their way to a national championship. When we come back, we're discussing the NHL trade deadline reactions for the Sabres, the Rangers, and as well as the Islanders as whether or not #Snow must go. Keep it here on WTOP.
Every night before the show, me and the guys, we like to loosen up a little bit. Blue, 42, hike! Every now and then, Dan likes to take it a little too far. But hey, the show's all about competition, so we'll take it.
Stupid Dan with stupid football and stupid running.
Last night, Lorai Capracuzzi scored 2 goals on Alya Brianlove. And
Joe, get out. Adam, you're in. Lori Korpakovsky scored 2 goals on Ilya Brizgalov. Got it.
Hey guys, this is my teenage friend Fred.
Rad! Hey pal, you want to pay attention to the road?
Relax, man, I got it.
Look, my man, if your bad driving gets me killed, you better hope you die too, or I will haunt you silly. And I'm not just gonna float over your bed like, woo! I'm gonna be making a more annoying noise, like, ah! And instead of wearing those long white robes, I think I'll wear something more form-fitting and upsetting. The other ghosts will look and be like, wow, we've never seen that before.
Welcome back. Now, last week we discussed the possibility of all these trades occurring around the NHL, and like every year, the trade deadline on Wednesday did not disappoint. Let's first start with the Rangers trading away their captain Ryan Callahan along with a conditional second-round pick this year and a first-round pick for next year's draft for Martin St. Louis to Tampa Bay. Was this a good move or a bad move by the Rangers?
I don't think this was a good move at all. They traded their captain, as well as 2 high draft picks for a guy who's 38 and an unrestricted free agent. I just don't really get it. It just doesn't, it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know why they would want to do this. Maybe just to shake things up a little bit, but I don't think trading your captain is ever really the right story.
No, because even though St. Louis does provide a little bit more all-around better play, he's still 38, which means even if they try and keep him for a couple more years, he's not going to last. And like you said, they gave up a first-round and a conditional second-round pick. Unless they're really trying to push a run for the Cup, which I don't think they're ready for this season, then this deal is going to flop, and it's going to make their general manager look really bad.
So, Anthony, do you agree with Scott to saying, this move was probably definitely a right-now move, trying to get Martin St. Louis? Do you think this makes them a Rangers Cup contender?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think they can compete. The West has some tough teams, especially.
Very true. And they're not even. They're still trying to break up into the top of the East.
Yeah, you have the Ducks, the Blues to compete with. That's just out West. You still have all the teams in the East to compete with too. I don't think that they're favorites at all.
We'll see how St. Louis does play for the Rangers going forward. Moving to the opposite end of New York, the Buffalo Sabres, who are in possession of the worst record in NHL, were active, very much so at the trade deadline, sending goalie Yaroslav Halak to the Capitals for goaltender Michael Neuvirth and defenseman Roslav Kesla. Halak barely got his feet in the water. He played 0 games, was here for about 3 or 4 days for the Sabres. As the smoke clears for all these moves that were made by the Sabres, was this overall for the future a great move by the Sabres?
I think so. They got draft picks. I said earlier last semester on the show that once the Sabres got Molson, that they would just flip him for more picks. They did. They flipped McCormick to, and as you said, Halak didn't really even have time to unpack his bags. And Rostislav Klesla actually refused a minor league assignment.
Wow.
So he's not even going to be on the team. He's just a throw-in guy.
I
really.
guess so.
Yeah, it breaks my heart a little bit when you say us being in last place right now, but the future is bright.
Yes.
with these picks that they've acquired, anywhere with how the conditional stuff falls, they're in between anywhere in the 15 to 20 range of draft picks over the next 2 years in the upper rounds alone. So this is going to benefit them. They're kind of just a prospect team this season, being one of the youngest in the NHL. But this is going to help in the long run. Let Tim Murray get his feet wet as his GM of the Sabres. And unfortunately, Pat LaFontaine stepped down too. But the Sabres are looking to build, and I think this is going to help, especially with Neuvirth coming in. Him and Halak are about the same level, and he's a little bit younger, so it's going to help in the future.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the Pittsburgh Penguins tanked 2 years in a row, got the #1 overall draft pick, and got Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. So
that is very true. And now maybe a team with a little less optimistic about themselves is the New York Islanders. It wasn't too long ago that the Islanders looked like a young and improving team, but a few questionable signings and trades have left the Isles with worse off than before when they got Thomas Vanek, who the Islanders gave up to a great deal to acquire from Buffalo just earlier this season, and now find themselves playing for the Montreal Canadiens as he was traded for Sebastian Kohlberg, a prospect, and a second-round pick. Now, many Islanders fans are now calling for the firing of GM Gar Snow. Of course, the big hashtag, Snow must go. And after a series of all these moves, should Gar Snow definitely be out the door at the end of the season?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about this. He traded Matt Moulson in a first-round pick for Thomas Vanek. He traded an established NHL player and a first-round pick just for Thomas Vanek. Mm-hmm. He then trades Thomas Vanek for a second-round draft pick and a prospect. This trade.
And there's a conditional 5th-round pick that the Islanders could get if the Canadiens don't make the playoffs.
So essentially, what happened was the Islanders traded Matt Moulson in a first-round pick for Sebastian Kohlberg in a second-round pick. I just don't think that works out very well in the end. I think Snow must absolutely be gone after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Snow's putting down a blizzard on these Islander fans.
That's very good one, Scott.
I don't understand what his game plan is. I don't know if he can even say what he understands what his game plan is. Like you said, Sebastian Kohlberg hasn't even touched NHL ice. A prospect, just 20 years old. I mean, maybe it looks great if he develops to be the next Sidney Crosby, but that's a far stretch to give up someone that is an actual proven goal scorer. They needed a goaltender, really, is what they needed with Nabokov not playing that well, and then they just did this. I completely agree with the hashtag Snow must go.
Well, fans are so outraged. If he doesn't go at the end of the season, you can definitely be seeing a lot of unhappy fans as they move to Brooklyn. Well, it's coming down the stretch for the race for the Cup, so we know the Islanders and Sabres are basically out of running, but we'll see how those Rangers do look for their 5th Stanley Cup. Next on Empire Sports, we'll be discussing the surprising retirement of running back Rashard Mendenhall and the effects of the image on the NFL. Stay tuned. You're watching Empire Sports.
Rob, what's up? How's it going? Guys, this is my cousin Rob from Michigan.
What's up?
He's a teenager.
Hey, what's up? All right. Oh, hey, you want to slow down?
No.
Really? Huh. Hey, you know what a beautiful animal is? A horse. A horse. Yeah. Beautiful mane, unbelievable muscle tone. When it runs, it looks like poetry in motion. It's the most beautiful thing on earth. And sometimes when you feed a horse, its lips will tickle your hand. Just tickle it just a little bit. It makes me giggle sometimes. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you don't slow down, I'm going to bite into your head like an apple. And thanks, guys, for listening to my horse stories. I could talk about ponies all day long.
WTOP TV 10, Oswego, New York. I'm Naked. Come on.
The Hollywood View is back with a brand new season and a brand new look. Join me for non-stop Hollywood coverage news right here on WTOP 10 every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m.
Welcome back. Now, though this isn't about New York State sports, it is a very interesting topic as former Pittsburgh Steeler and Arizona Cardinal Rashard Mendenhall has retired at the age of 26. Mendenhall stated that he doesn't want to play anymore and has a desire to travel and write. What do you make of this shocking announcement by a player that is only 26-year-old, a Super Bowl MVP, playing for a Super Bowl team? The kind of pressure that we see now put on a perspective on an NFL star, it's definitely a very interesting discussion that I want to get your guys' input on. Overall, the image that this puts on the NFL.
It's definitely an interesting story. It's not really New York related, but it's a big enough story that we can talk about. It's weird. Like he had claimed that he had already done anything that he was going to accomplish in the NFL.
And that's at the age of 26.
He had won Super Bowl. He had made a lot of money, obviously, being a professional athlete. It's not like he had Hall of Fame potential. So I actually think he did accomplish everything that he could have accomplished. I don't blame him. Football's a dangerous sport. He's a good player. He is maybe a little bit of a waste of potential. He could have been good for the Cardinals, on a Super Bowl contender again, but yeah, I can't really blame the guy.
Yeah, as unfortunate it is for the Arizona Cardinals. He was a solid lead back, like you said, not necessarily Hall of Fame potential, but I don't blame him. If this is what makes him happy, then good for him. You see a lot of NFL players starting to get more involved about the money and wanting to get those higher contracts just to make the extra money. But if this is what makes him happy, I don't think it's really going to hurt the image of the NFL as much as more as it's going to encourage overall good.
Scott, could we be seeing other players do this like him, retire at such a young age? He was saying he didn't want to live a private life in the public eye anymore. It's overall, does this bring up more players that could be before the age of 30, before they get into that prime, that considered prime by many of us from the media, going forward, retiring?
Yeah, I think it could, because a lot of players, with all the safety concerns about the health after the NFL, after the careers are over, with a lot of people, their life expectancy being dramatically shorter, I think that this is a big movement for players in the NFL to do what makes them happy instead of saying, hey, we're just in it for the money.
Yeah, and running backs only generally, I think the average, the longest running back careers tend to go is like the age of 32. So it's not like he had retired that ahead of his time. But 26 is obviously still a very young age to call it quits.
That is very true, and it'll be interesting to see if other players do this going forward and retiring at such a young age. But it definitely shows what the NFL star can go through. We're now going to send it to a break. When we come back, we're going to be wrapping this one up with fact or fiction. We'll be asking the guys some very interesting topics. Keep it here on Empire Sports.
I'm lucky. Let me help you with that. I get to do something I love. It has nothing to do with touchdowns or titles. Everybody bring it in. I get to play a part in the life of someone just starting out. How many of you think homework is just as important as teamwork? I help keep kids in school. Good. And that's the name of the game. My name is LaDainian Thomason. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United.
So what sets the Rundown apart from other newscasts is that it brings students together to voice their opinions on the world's most important political issues.
There seems to be just more events going on in 2012 than there were in previous years combined.
This nation is based on the foundation that we choose the government.
Do we use 1, 2, and 3? We work hard to bring you the most up-to-date, relevant coverage of the stories you should be following.
The country has now gone over the fiscal cliff.
Is gun control necessary? How much is too much?
Does it surprise you that it's taken this long to have a serious talk about gun control?
Students need to realize that this is the time when what's going on in Capitol Hill and around the world starts to affect them.
And really, the fate of the entire country is at hand here.
This is it.
5, 4, 3, 2,
1, go camera 2.
Good evening and welcome to The Rundown. I'm Megan Roberts.
Welcome back. Before we go, remember you can always join in on the discussion on social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us, and tweet us at EmpireSports@OZ. Now, Anthony and Scott, are you guys ready for Fact or Fiction?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go. First off, the Nets have been completely turned their season around and are looking to go to face against a big challenge tomorrow against the Miami Heat. The Heat have been struggling. Fact or Fiction, do the Nets take down the Miami Heat?
Well, teams step up when they play the Heat, and they actually beat the Heat earlier in the season. I think like their third game or something like that. I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'm going to say fact. I think the Nets beat the Heat.
See, I'm going to say fiction because I think the Heat are still too involved in their battle for the #1 seed in the East. Don't think they're going to let this one slip away, knowing that the Brooklyn Nets are making momentum for a push for that higher seed.
It's going to be very tough to beat those Heat. Now, guys, after winning their 4th straight against Philadelphia yesterday, the Knicks are now in the 9th seed Eastern Conference. And now maybe the signing of Phil Jackson. Could we be seeing the Knicks get into playoff position by the time we come back from spring break?
Fiction. I know the East is bad, but the Knicks have been worse in the Eastern Conference, so I don't see them making the playoffs.
I won't say that they're in a playoff spot when we come back in 2 weeks, but I'm going to say fact that they make a case to get into the playoffs because they play Boston, Milwaukee, the Pacers, and Cleveland, which 3 of the 4 are winnable games. So they could get and jump into that 9th spot and close the gap on 8th place.
And now a little college basketball for you guys. The NCAA basketball tournament will soon be getting underway. Manhattan College secured its bid with the winning the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference tournament the other day. And Albany and Stony Brook will be playing for the American East title on Saturday. You see either of these teams maybe becoming Cinderellas before our eyes when the tournament comes?
Well, the teams basically be 16 seeds, and last time I checked, no 16 has ever beaten a 1. So I'm going to say fiction.
I'm going to also say fiction. These teams don't really have Dunk City like Florida Gulf Coast did last year in them, so don't see them really making a run in the tournament.
Okay, and now our final question of the night involves the Lakers men's hockey team. After winning the Sumiak on Saturday, the Lakers will be hosting the first round game tomorrow night against Bowdoin. Now the guys, the rest of the tournament will be going on during spring break. Big question here. Do the Lakers win the national championship?
I'm going to say fact just because I'm a homer, so go Lakers.
Well, just for the statistical side, I have to say fiction. A really young team. Don't know if Zawadzki is there yet to carry them through this tournament in net. So I'm going to say fiction.
4 wins over the next 11 days is going to be a big obstacle for these Lakers. But you know what? Go Lakers. 4 wins in a row. Let's do it. Win the national championship. 2nd time ever for this program. That'll do it for Empire Sports. We have no show next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks to bring you all your favorite New York City sports. Thank you for watching. Good night. Off we go.
SAVAC ambulance responded to a 1 Bravo response, basement of Cuba Hall.
Dispatch, SAVAC 1, en route.
Hey, we're with SAVAC. How can we help you today?
So our show's called Weekend in Oz, but we air on a Wednesday. So
yeah.
What does...
It's really weird.
So it should be like weekday in
Weekday
Oz?
in Oz or like...
Weeknight?
Weeknight or like
Hump day?
Hump day.
Hump day.
Hump day special.
I like hump.